My name is Jaden Chertel, and this is my final project. I have chosen to support this argument using Althusser, Bourdieu, and Habermas. Althusser focused on the use and responsibilities of state apparatuses and interpolation of the people, which I understood as the goal of all establishments for the one and universal establishment. They promote a system that douses the fire of thinking for yourself and promotes sameness under the guise of unity. So how does the ruling class succeed in their mission? By way of cooperation through ideological and repressive state apparatuses. First, the distinction between ideological state apparatus and repressive state apparatus. Ideological apparatuses include but are not limited to public schools, political systems, and communication systems such as television and radio. They operate in a different way than repressive, as repressive apparatuses operate by force rather than ideas. RSAs include but are not limited to military and law enforcement. A current example of state apparatuses at work are the American Health and Beauty. This has been an easy target for the ideological state apparatus to interpolate the population into their beliefs of how you should look. Before I begin, let it be noted that the organizations may not work for the state, but they still serve the values and interests of the state in order to maintain order in society. It is also important to recognize that this is not exclusive to females. In fact, males are affected by health standards just as much, if not more, than women. Over the years, many people have fallen into depression and anxiety, struggled with depleted self-esteem, and hated themselves because they did not fit into beauty standards. For women, it was mostly hunting the lowest number on the scale or the smallest jeans you could fit into. Same goes for makeup. If people do not keep up to date with trends or stereotypes for what is socially acceptable, then they will be scrutinized for it. For men, the expectation is to look like the top 0.5% of the population. It's unrealistic and actually impossible for the majority of men, or even the average man, to look like the elite population. Now, some may argue that as progressive as large corporations are, acting outside the box is encouraged. That's true, but only when it's profitable and politically acceptable. Otherwise, you will be silenced and neutralized by the ruling class so you do not cause any issues. The problem with beauty standards is that they promote one universal identity for beauty. The truth is, beauty is decided by the individual, not decided for the individual. State apparatuses operate in a way that rounds up all opinions and attempts to persuade the majority to overtake the minority rather than coexist. How does the ruling class mobilize their ideologies against the public? Bourdieu is important for this because he realizes the power that television plays in the game. Television holds a lot of power because it brings people together by spreading information to many separate outlets. When the evening news comes on and everyone is watching a universal source of news, it is much easier for the ruling class to put their state apparatuses to work. Journalists want to be a part of the intellectual and political crowd. As a result, they undoubtedly fall in line and skew the information available to the public sphere. The ruling class is not interested in the working class finding the truth in all matters. They are only interested in exploiting the working class. Television, by nature, brings people together and is a master tool for mass diffusion. Yet it remains true that the television industry, just like the field of journalism, is based on a set of shared assumptions and beliefs, which reach beyond differences of position and opinion. These assumptions operate within a particular set of mental categories, which are the ruling class ideas. Another product of the diffusion is that the ideas spread into newspapers and magazines. If something inflammatory is said on the news at night, by morning the next day, the radio hosts are all over it, and the magazines have already posted articles. The role of television in diffusion of ruling class hegemonic ideas is central to the influence of the ideologies. For today's community, social media has become the setting of the public sphere where the social body communicates and discusses. For Habermas, the public sphere is proof of a fruitful democracy, but the influence of state apparatuses threatens that. This is harmful to the status of the public sphere because in order for the public sphere to operate, individuals must be able to interact freely with others and discuss matters of general interest. The public sphere acts between society and state as the bearer of public opinion. The institutions of public authority, along with the bureaucracy and the legal institutions, simply do not care. Public sphere does not mean public authority. In fact, today's society, there's less power to the people. This is in large part due to the setting of public sphere migrating to social media. Most communication today is done online through social media or other internet sources. The problem here lies with the social media site the user is on. Each site has slightly different rules, but all the same principles. Don't act out too much, don't raise too many questions, and obey the ideology of hegemony. Otherwise, the user is usually suspended and/or banned from the platform. As you can imagine, this is an extreme and imminent threat to the status